everybody, and welcome to another Top 5 board gaming video. Today's video is one I'm particularly excited for because it's one of the reasons I absolutely love gaming. These are my favorite games that completely came out of the blue for me. Before I really get into it though, I would like to invite you, if you haven't done so already, to please take a look at my Facebook and my Twitter pages. On those I will post whenever I make a new video. I also have contests, giveaways, fun articles, plus it's a great way to keep in touch with me as well. In addition to that, I also have a new Patreon page. Through my Patreon page, you guys can sponsor my channel, get all sorts of cool rewards, including being able to see videos earlier, vote on new topics, and suggest your own topics that I guarantee will get made relatively shortly. So it's a great thing that you guys can do to really help me out. That said, what do I mean when I say these games came out of the blue? Well, for me, I do watch a lot of reviews, I read some reviews, all this kind of stuff, but these are games where maybe I didn't hear a whole lot about them, or they didn't have a whole lot of publicity, whatever it happens to be. I just didn't know very much when I was going in, and then when I first played them, I'm just sort of like, whoa, and I was completely blown away. For most of them, I didn't have any real preconceptions on it because most of these were very innovative, and that's part of why they really surprised me, but you guys will all see what I'm talking about. As always, please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. You guys know I love hearing from you. What are your favorite games in this category? All of that great stuff. But with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with my number 5. Number 5 is one of the games on this list that I do not own, and one I have talked about at length. Mostly I've talked about my preconceptions about it, and that is Pandemic Legacy. Yes, this is one that really caught me by surprise after I really started playing it and getting into it with my regular gaming group. I had played a little bit previously, but we were really bad about meeting up and blah blah blah, and it just didn't work out. After I got a good group together, I was just sort of blown away by the game. And obviously this was after it had reached number 1 on BGG and all this kind of stuff, so I knew there was a ton of hype around it, and that's why it's lower on this list, but it was still one that really took me by surprise, mostly because I was really gripped by the story aspect of it. But with all that, that's why it's lower on the list. Pandemic Legacy, my number 5. At number 4, I've got a game that I literally had never heard of until I sat down at a random game night in order to play it. It's tremendously fun, really quick, and requires a lot of logical reasoning. It is Dimension. In this game, the idea is that you've got several rule cards that you're following, and you're trying to build up a pyramid out of colored wooden balls. So you've got various things like you can't have a green on top of an orange, you can't have a black touching a blue, whatever it happens to be. So there are various rules that you have to obey, and the more closely you obey the rules, the more points you get, essentially is how it works. It's really fun, it's pretty fast paced, plays really well solo, and honestly, it's on this list because mostly I was surprised that I hadn't heard of it. It really did not get a lot of publicity, and I still don't hear a whole lot about it, but it is tremendously fun, really fast to play, super easy to learn, and I just absolutely love it. Dimension, my number 4. At number 3, I've got the only other game on this list that I actually own. This particular one is on the list because it was a really brand new genre, really innovative in terms of how it functioned, and it really took a lot of board gaming sort of by storm, and that is Time Stories. Yes, Time Stories beats out Pandemic Legacy. I don't care what you say. And the thing is that with Time Stories, we had this very heavily story-driven based type of gameplay, and I mean, certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, that has never really happened to the extent that Time Stories did it. I mean, when a game requires spoiler alerts in order to really talk about it, it makes it rather difficult. With something like Mice and Mystics or Level 7, you do have an ongoing story, and same thing with even something like Descent you do as well. But with this type of thing, you've got logic puzzles that you're trying to solve. You've got an ongoing story within a single module. You have an overarching story that goes between the modules. You've got all of this stuff going on, and that's what really took me by surprise, is how much I enjoyed the entire experience of it. Similarly with Pandemic Legacy, where I didn't expect the story to be such a big deal. This is one that I had heard a little bit about when I got it. I actually got really lucky because I won this in a raffle right after it was released. So I was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. So I got really lucky in that sense, and that's why I hadn't really heard much about it. But then as soon as I played it, I was just like, and it's absolutely amazing. Time Stories, my number 3. At number 2, I've got another game similarly to Time Stories that really took most of the board gaming genre by storm and became extremely popular pretty much overnight, and that is Santorini. For those who don't know, Santorini is a game that is designed for 2, 3, or 4 players, and the way that it works is it's sort of a move and place type of thing, and it's difficult to explain in a short amount of time, but it's really, really very interesting. It's sort of an abstract derivative of chess type of thing, where you're talking about several moves ahead and all of this kind of thing, and you're always like building up yourself, trying to not build up your opponent, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff. It's absolutely ridiculous, and honestly this really did take most of the gaming community by storm when it was first released, because it came insanely popular very, very quickly. And even now it's rather difficult to get a copy of the game because it's just so ridiculously popular. And the fact is, it is amazing. It really is a great game, and I know the first time I played it, I was immediately hooked on it. Part of the thing for me is I really love Greek mythology, and it's not extremely heavily Greek mythology based. It's not like, Cyclades or something like that. But you do have like god cards present that act as sort of, like different asymmetrical powers, that kind of thing. And it really does change the game, and I like that aspect because it gives you a lot of replayability. But it really just completely surprised me when I first played it. I just had no idea what I was in for, essentially. Santorini, my number 2. Last but not least, number 1. This game is an absolutely ridiculous party game that I first played at a regular board game night and was completely blown away by, and that is Captain Sonar. To be fair, this is a game that I had heard of before, and I heard people really, really enjoyed it and all this kind of stuff, but I heard about it, I read about it, all this kind of thing, and I was just like, okay, well, but I can see that because I played video games like this. So I played video games like Artemis, as well as on my VR headset I've got Star Trek Bridge Crew. So I'm like, okay, like I can definitely see the appeal of it. It seems like a lot of fun. But then when I finally got a chance to actually play it, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I am playing Hunt for Red October right now. This is incredible, and I absolutely love it. And again, it really came out of the blue for me personally, because I had heard really good things, but I hear really good things about a lot of games. And I mean, this one in particular, for not only a party game, but something that requires a great deal of team coordination, individualized strategy with the different station, wonderful communication. I mean, you've got a team building exercise in a game. How frequently can you say that you really see that even with the best of the best cooperative games? It is absolutely insanely fun. I do appreciate the fact that it's real time, so that means that if your team is better equipped and more efficient and stuff, then you simply have a slight advantage. So in that sense, it's good, but it's also bad. I mean, because obviously people who are less experienced, not going to have the same desire for that particular aspect. However, I was absolutely blown away by this game. Tremendously fun. Captain Sonar, you're going around and you're hunting the enemy submarine, is essentially what you're doing. And you've got different stations, like engineering, first officer, and then the communications. It's absolutely ridiculous. So much fun. Go out and play it if you haven't done so already. It is my number one that came out of the blue, which makes sense because it was a submarine. Well folks, that's going to be it for me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video on my top 5 favorite games that sort of came out of the blue for me personally. Again, this is a very exciting category because it really embodies a lot of what I love about board games. I love to be surprised in this particular way because I'm like, this is so amazing. I can't believe I haven't heard of this. I can't believe that I hadn't played this before. So on the other side of the coin, it is kind of interesting to see games that I was like, this came out of the blue in the sense that it's absolutely terrible, and I heard good things, but I'm like, wow, this game sucks. Goodbye. But that is neither here nor there. With that, you guys know that I love hearing from you, so please put any and all thoughts about what you think about this category below. What are your favorite games that you really hadn't heard of, you weren't certain about, that just sort of went like boom and mind bomb all up in your face? Please let me know in the comments. With that, thank you so very much again for watching, and I will see you next time.